that, but after last year's debacle and challenges, it's great. It is great to be back here and some sense of normalcy. And so we're excited about our season at University of Utah. Brought two fine players with me. They're in the back there. Devin Lloyd, our outstanding All-American linebacker, and Britton Covey, our slot receiver / punt returner / kickoff returner. And so both those guys will be juniors in eligibility this year due to the COVID delay in eligibility, and we're looking forward to them leading our football team this year. I feel pretty good about where we're at as a team. Good depth, maybe the most depth since we've been in the Pac-12, and that's a pretty bold statement. We've been in the league 11 years, but we feel like we've done a good job recruiting and in a position right now where our each position group is solid, and like I said, has 2 or 3 guys at each spot that we feel good about. So excited for the season to get going, hoping and praying for a normal season. It's going to be great to get fans back in the stands. We have a huge home field advantage at Utah. We've had 10-plus years of sellouts in a row, which spans some 70 games, and we've just added a south end zone expansion to the stadium to bring it up about 5,000 or 6,000 more seats, and looking forward to that home field advantage that we have at Rice Eccles. So anyway, questions and ready to roll.
Yeah, you're welcome to come on up.
Come on up, I guess. All right. Everyone's burnt out by now. So this is no longer there, or this is still open? Okay.
Josh Newman, Salt Lake
Yep.
Tribune. Kyle, you said during the spring that the running back position would likely be by committee. Now that we're almost through the summer, do you still feel that way?
Most likely. Now that could change. The running back position was rebuilt. Of course, we had the tragic loss of Ty Jordan, which was a huge event in our program. But we were able to add T.J. Pledger from Oklahoma, Chris Curry from LSU. We've got Mekhi Bernard returning. And so going in, there's going to be equal footing for 3 or 4 of the running backs. If one emerges as the top guy, we'll make the adjustment. If each one brings something to the table, then we'll make the best of that situation as well. But right now, there is no leading candidate to be the primary ball carrier, so we'll see how that evolves.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
Are you dedicating the season to Ty, or is your team do anything special?
We've got some things on that we're going to do this season. We've got a scholarship that'll be the Ty Jordan Scholarship that someone will be awarded in fall camp. Now, when I say awarded, it may be a player that's already on scholarship, but he's recognized as the recipient of the Ty Jordan Scholarship, and maybe a walk-on that earns that scholarship. But it'll be the player that best exemplifies Ty and what he was all about, his work ethic, his passion for the game. And so that's something that we definitely will be honoring Ty with, as well as some other things in game during the course of the season.
Well, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
And also, you've been around quite a while for the Pac-12.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of new coaches as your peers. Is that more of a challenge this season because you have all these new coaches coming in with their new schemes maybe, or?
Well, it's always some unknowns. It brings some unknowns to the table, but it seems every year there's a certain amount of change and turnover, and you just get used to it, and you really don't really pay a lot of attention, especially in the Pac-12, because you typically play your 3 non-conference games early, and by then you've got enough material on the teams that you're going to play. Even if they're new coaches, you've got good game film and footage to watch and study.
Thank you.
Steve Bartle with Ute Zone. Hey, Coach.
How you doing, Steve?
Doing well. You talked about the South End Zone expansion and renovation. I'm curious, have you been able to take a tour of the new facility, and how do you feel that will benefit you as a program?
I have had the opportunity to take a tour. It's been a while, though. It was about a month and a half ago, and I know it's changed dramatically since I took the last tour. I'm going to go ahead and go through it again this week as we near completion. We're probably about 2 or 3 weeks out from completion. But it's going to be a huge benefit, not only on game day, but for recruiting. It's a phenomenal facility. It's got a restaurant that'll be open year-round in it, and so it's going to be a great recruiting tool. And it really finishes off what was an outstanding stadium is now going to be even that much more of a home field advantage and an enhancement to the atmosphere and the environment. And our players, after last year playing in front of nobody, are elated to be able to be playing in front of 50,000 plus fans in that new stadium.
Marge Benet with TG Sports. Coach, with the loss of Ty, can you explain or go into detail the talk of, if you've talked to any of your athletes about mental health and the
Yeah.
loss and everything?
Mental health is a big part of our program as far as offering, resources and support. That's something that our players, it was tough to deal with the Ty Jordan situation, still is. Fortunately, our administration's committed. We have a full department that's committed, that's dedicated to mental health and counselors that our players can talk to and visit with. We try to make it a point of emphasis to our players that it's not a sign of weakness to seek mental health assistance. I mean, that's part of life, and if it's the same as being physically ill. I mean, if you need to get help and see somebody, there's no shame or no stigma attached to that. And I think our coaches, our assistant coaches, have done a really good job of conveying that to our players, and our players seem to do a really good job of taking advantage of the resources that we do have.
Kyle, from a mental health standpoint, how has that part of your job changed in the last 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, it's become an increasingly, it's been a bigger part year to year, and something, when I played, that wasn't even a topic. I mean, it didn't exist. And when I got into coaching, it didn't exist. But the last 5, 6, 7 years, that's really started to come to the forefront, and it's really, I think it's really benefited. I know it's benefited a bunch of our players. And again, it's something that we continually try to educate them that, hey, this is nothing to be ashamed of. It's not a sign of being weak or not tough or any of that stuff. It's reality, and let us know when you're hurting and when you need some help, and we'll make sure we get it for you.
Coach Lynn Harrington with Stay Alive in Power 5. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
So you're the longest tenure coach in the Pac-12. You seem like you're the king of doing more with less. And what I mean by less is, not that you don't recruit at a high level, but you develop your players like none other and make them in NFL draft picks. Can you just give us some of the secret recipe behind your longevity?
Well, bringing good players into the program is the number one secret to that. I appreciate your comments, and I think that really speaks to our assistant coaches. They're the ones on the front lines going out and evaluating and projecting the talent that we're looking for. And recruiting, at least for us, is more a projection. It's not where is the player now, it's where is he going to be in 2 or 3 years. That's the big part of the process. And I know our assistants have done a phenomenal job of finding those, I don't want to call them diamonds in the rough, but the guys with the big upside that we can bring into the program, develop them, and make them into the type of players that we need them to be, and maximize their potential. Another big part of that is our strength program. We have a phenomenal strength program. We get guys that come into our program at 6'5", 215 pounds, and 3 years later they're 270 pounds, and our strength staff deserves a great deal of the credit for that.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
I mean, since you've seen it all and you've been here so long, what's your thoughts on the NIL ordeal, and do you think that it's taken the power out of the NCAA and the conference hands and putting it into the student athlete?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I'm all for it. I'm all for anything the players can get within reason. I'm all for. They are the game. It's not about the coaches. It's not about the administration. It's certainly not about the NC2A. It's about the players. And if they can take advantage of that, of their name, image, and likeness, and ease their financial burdens, and I know people say, well, they're on scholarship. What burdens do they have? But the reality is it's tough to make it in that situation. And so I'm a pro NIL guy, and we're still not sure what direction it's going to go ultimately. There's a lot of details that still need to get worked out and refined, but I'm in charge. I'm in favor of the concept without a doubt. And what was the second part of the question? Or was that the whole question?
Oh, it's like, do you think like it took the power out of
The
the
power,
conference?
yeah.
and
The NC2A is, they've acquiesced some of that power, and it's. I don't know. Maybe power is not the right word, but the model, the NC2A and the amateur model is not what it used to be, and I think it's going to get further away from the amateur model. I think there's a lot of change that's going to happen. The Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, this realignment stuff. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're in for a huge change in collegiate football and the landscape of collegiate football, and it's gravitating and migrating more towards a minor league football rather than collegiate football. I think that's the direction it's going.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Coach, you talked about your ability to project 2 to 3 years in recruiting, but this this past offseason, you were quite active in the transfer portal and bringing guys in. How has the transfer portal kind of shifted, if at all, your mindset in terms of bringing in talent to the program?
Well, that's a good point. The transfer portal is one of those things like the NIL, something that really is impactful and has changed college football to a certain extent. I liken it to the high school players are your draft, and the transfer portal is your free agents. And if you have an immediate need, if you lose a guy or two in the transfer portal at a certain position group and you need to supplement what you have, those are guys that are expected to come in and help immediately. They're not developmental guys. They're not guys that are going to come in and develop for 2 years because most of them only have 1 year left. And so that's something where if you have an immediate need or you have unforeseen circumstances arise, that you go to the portal. And for us, we've lost 2 or 3 guys in the portal, but we've gained far more than we've lost. And I think the net result for us at Utah through portal has been a plus, and we're on the plus side of that ledger.
Hi, Kyle. Nick Selby from Sports Illustrated. In your decade plus of coaching in the Pac-12, how has the league changed most significantly, in your opinion?
I don't think it's changed a lot. It's been every single year, seemingly from top to bottom, very competitive. There's no weeks off. I mean, you look at some of the other Power 5 conferences, and there's some teams in the bottom half of the league that you just got to show up, and you're going to get a win. That doesn't happen in the Pac-12. I mean, it's a challenge every week, and I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't been to the CFP for several years, is we cannibalize each other and beat up on each other through a 9-conference game schedule, which is another factor in the whole thing. But I just think the Pac-12, since we've been in it, has just remained and maybe even gotten more competitive as the years go by. And I think that's really the reason why we are not a presence on the national scene in the CFP, is because of the balance in the league. I hate the word parity, but I think we're very balanced.
And as the commissioner said that, making the CFP is a priority for the whole conference.
Right.
Do you see that balance kind of being lost as a result of that, perhaps?
We'll see. I don't know, but I'm not trying to make an excuse. We got to be better. I'm not trying to make an excuse of why we're not in the CFP, but I think that's an underlying factor. And I think in order to gain the respect, I guess you could say, of the rest of the country, that we've got to have a presence there, and we just simply haven't over the last 3 or 4 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Coach.
Hi.
So we have tailback U, quarterback U, linebacker U. I'm wondering what you think of front 7 U.
Yeah. For us,
Yes, obviously.
I think we're in that conversation, and we've, through the years, had a great deal of success, particularly on defense and particularly in the front 7. Although our secondary in 2019, all 5 of the starters, we play a nickel secondary, all 5 of those guys are in the NFL, so we've got a good case for the entire defensive unit to be in that same conversation. But we've been blessed with very strong front 7s, and it starts up front. I think a lot of the time our defensive line has been so good that makes the linebackers even that much better. But we've just, again, through recruiting and through evaluation, and we've developed a reputation. I guess you could say that if you want to be at one of the elite defensive line schools in the country, we're definitely in that conversation.
And do you think that the pipeline into the South Pacific has a lot to do with that?
Absolutely. We're a unique team. We're the most diverse team in America. We have almost exactly 1/3 African American, 1/3 Polynesian, 1/3 Caucasian, which no team in the country can make that claim as far as the ratio. And the Polynesian athlete has been a huge reason for our success.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Coach, you talked about the depth this season on your team. Do you think that that's going to be a not the biggest difference, but a big difference between this team and your past teams that have challenged for the Pac-12 title?
I would say yes. And then another factor that is present every single year, if you're going to have one of those championship teams, you got to be able to stay healthy, and that's sometimes beyond your control. And it's if you look back at we've had 2 really elite teams at Utah over the past 15, 20 years, the 04 team and the 08 team. In both those years, if my memory serves me correct, we started the same 22 guys in the bowl game that we did at the first game of the season. And so staying healthy, getting some breaks along the way, and having depth, that's 3 big factors in having a special season. Hey,
I cover Colorado, so.
Oh,
I
great.
asked you a question about the
Okay.
Buffs. Nate Lamon obviously got injured in your game last year. He's back now. What kind of difference do you feel like he makes when you guys were scouting him and when you played against him, and then also Carson Wells?
okay, you kind of drowned out. Which players are we talking about?
Nate Lamon and then
Okay.
Carson Wells, the two linebackers for the
Yeah,
Buffs.
great players and productive, tough, hard-nosed guys. And again, you go back to staying healthy and having enough depth to cover up some of those injuries. But sometimes it's just, I mean, there's drop-off between the one and the next guy. And so those are two outstanding football players. And I'm an old linebacker myself, so I pay particular attention to linebacker play when I'm watching film. And I was very impressed with those guys. They're good players. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, sorry if you talked about this earlier, but you guys were part of the last, college football realignment. Any thoughts on what's been going on in the current landscape for college football?
The only thoughts I have is it doesn't surprise me one bit, and it's just the beginning. It's going to be another big wave of realignment and movement, and the landscape's going to change dramatically.
Do you have any advice for programs that are moving conferences?
No advice. Recruit your butt off. That's about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any further questions for Coach?
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Kyle.